what what have we been missing in Georgia? What has the collective been missing in Georgia? I'm sure you know what's going on in Georgia, being a resident of Gwinnett County, but why was this just not even on the map?
Oh, well, to me, it was always on the map because I've been saying Georgia's going to flip blue for a long time. And right now we are focused on counting every vote. I don't know if you can see my sweatshirt, but it says count every vote.
You got that printed? Who printed that so fast?
My friend who works at a nonprofit, but
that's awesome.
But look, Georgia, I mean, Stacey Abrams, when she ran for governor, lost with less than 50,000 votes. And we all knew that the margins were going to get better for Democrats in 2020. But we've constantly been a flyover state. You know, people look at Florida, people look at, North Carolina. But I mean, look at it now. We're literally, the margin between Biden and Trump is 13,500 votes right now in Georgia, with 50,000 ballots still remaining to be counted in mostly blue counties. So I mean, I think we've always been competitive, and I just think people just wrote us off because we're in the South.
Yeah.
But this is the new South, and I'm confident that we're going to flip blue soon.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because it's not like people of color just moved to Georgia and just started voting Democratic. I mean, generations of folks have been voting Democratic and either been taken for granted or they just were like, I really don't understand it. It is the new South in many ways. I mean, especially first generation voters like yourself. But even with that, there was always this diverse Democratic coalition in the South that, when Johnson said he lost the South for a couple of generations, I mean, it just crystallized how clear they recognized the Jim Crow laws that were preventing people of color who were going to vote Democratic from voting, and they didn't want to fight it. And now you're sitting in Georgia where the laws, as restrictive as they still are, there's been a lot of court battles, and same thing in Florida. There's the mass. It's just the masses are growing so much more. The coalition just keeps growing. That it can't fight whatever voter suppression that was on the table this time around. Does that seem right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always said this: Republicans can't win on policy, so they got to cheat. And we've been going after our county commission for voter suppression, our elections board, our election supervisor, for various things that they've done to suppress a vote in Gwinnett County. It's these key metro Atlanta counties that are going to deliver these 16 electoral votes to Joe Biden. And it's also because like you said, we've become increasingly diverse, and, we're not habitually used to voting, right? And so this is something that has taken my generation to get used to and get your parents to come out and vote. When I ran for Congress in Georgia's 7th Congressional District, one of the most diverse districts in the country, 20% of the population is foreign born. It's a majority minority district. And so I think what happened was, not I think, but what I know has happened in Georgia is they've always constantly catered to the white vote and, trying to peel off some Republicans. And we've seen this strategy at the national level. We've seen this strategy everywhere. And I've been complaining that we just need to focus on our base and turn them out. I think Stacey Abrams did a lot to her credit. She gave people a choice. She was loud and outspoken, and as a Black woman running for governor, people were able to see themselves in her candidacy, and really, she was inspiring, and she activated so many people. So not only did Donald Trump's presidency awaken a lot of people, it was also 2018 Abrams did as well. In 2020, the prospect of being so close as we were in 2018, I think people realized the power of their vote and recognized that the suppression was happening because the Republicans knew how powerful their votes were. Our votes are. And so we're mad as hell. And we came out to vote in huge numbers. And actually, I'll give you a stat. I've been constantly saying that the path to the flipping Georgia blue is through Gwinnett. And our margins from 2018 grew about 12%. From 2016. Grew from about 12%. 2016. Yes. And we only flipped my county in 2016 by 5 points. And so the same thing with Cobb, which is right next door where Lucy McBath is. She also flipped their margins also about 12 points since 2016. And so that's huge, considering we were red counties before 2016, and people were just getting really activated.
That you're in a majority minority county district, and it's red. I mean, I remember when you were running, you know, just for folks, so you all know, when Nabila ran for Congress, she was running in the district, the closest district in the country. I mean, the Republican won, not anymore, but it's amazing to me that like there just was no investment in a county that was so clearly and distinctly going to be Democratic.
Yes, because this is what I've learned, Nomi, is no one's going to save you. You got to save yourself. Yeah. All right. So we're a Black and brown working class community. Who's going to come into Gwinnett and invest here? And it had to be ourselves. And that's why after I lost, I was like, okay, what can I do to make the biggest impact in my community? And my chairwoman reached out to me, and we put together, chairwoman of the Gwinnett County Party, put together this program to actually reach voters in digital ads. We did a five-figure digital ads in Vietnamese, Korean, Spanish. No one's ever done that before. We sent out 100,000 mailers to low propensity voters, folks that don't get reached out to because we don't think they're going to vote.
Yeah.
These were new voters that we brought into the fold. We put together an election protection program because as we saw in my primary in June 9th, I didn't know who was the winner until 10 days after my primary. And so we made sure we ran up the score when it came to poll watchers. We got 80% of our precincts were covered by poll watchers, the most in the entire state. But it just goes to show that had we not done this, no one else was going to do it.
And also, how would this have affected the election? I mean, the Biden campaign is now saying that they feel very comfortable, and at least at this moment, about winning Georgia, as they do about Arizona, where I am right now. And you know, these are two states. I mean, just as you've been complaining about Gwinnett, I wrote an op-ed in the Arizona Republic, 10 years ago, what year was it? 8 years ago, something like that, saying Democrats need to wake up and like clean up the party and recognize that you got to invest here. And it's possible. It just can't be on these wave years, and you really have to do the work. So Nabila, let's talk a little bit more about like what voter suppression tactics were used, and what worked and what didn't.
Ooh, okay. So Gwinnett County is the only county in the state of Georgia that is federally mandated to have our ballots printed in two languages because of how big our Hispanic population is, so English and Spanish. Mm-hmm. And because of that, our county our ballots were delayed in being actually made and sent out to voters. Mm-hmm. There are people, as of election day, that did not receive their absentee ballot, even though they had requested it in September. And, the Secretary of State was just gaslighting them, telling them, oh, it's going to come. And people like gave up and early voted. But there's so many other folks that didn't have that opportunity because they're immunocompromised. You shouldn't have to compromise your health in order to exercise your constitutional right to vote. Folks might be abroad. They couldn't get their votes in time. I mean, that to me was super egregious. And the way that they dealt with it was, they were blaming us. They blamed us, the victims of this, for filing lawsuits against the state for not printing these ballots in the way that they should be. And so they were saying it was our fault. That was one. Two, they in Gwinnett County, even though we're blue, our county commission up until Tuesday, our county commission was majority Republican. Our election supervisor, she's a Republican, and our elections board is majority Republican as well. And they made sure that we only had 9 early voting sites. So I don't know if you guys remember those videos of those long lines on the first day of primary voting in Georgia, where people waited 8 to 11 hours. That's because our county commission decided that was enough, even though we have the highest, 62,000 voters per early voting precinct in comparison to other counties. So there's another county, Hall County, which Gwinnett is 450% bigger, had 8 early voting precincts, 8. Okay, we're 450% bigger. They're a Republican county. They were trying to tell us, oh, we don't need more early voting locations. You guys are fine. And sorry, I'm really passionate about this. We also got $4.3 million in order to invest in our election system to make it better, so it would be more accessible to voters. That was something that we did. Oh, and then lastly, I'll talk about poll workers. The county went above and beyond to recruit poll workers because the county commission kept talking about we don't have enough poll workers, and we all recognize if we don't have poll workers, then machines stop working for some reason. You lose plugs. And so we made sure to recruit. We recruited hundreds of poll workers, and like they weren't getting calls back. And so then I created the spreadsheet where I was like, it was a Google form. I was like, all right, if you apply to be a poll worker, make sure you submit your name here. And we followed up with our folks to see if they had gotten called back. Never got a call back. Never got a call back. We asked the county why that happened. They tried to tell us they never sent in their application. Okay. While these folks have screenshots of their applications being submitted. So something nefarious is going on because they're not even owning that they messed up. They're just kind of like brushing it aside. And I think it's because they recognize that when we do flip blue, it's going to be because of the votes in Gwinnett. And people are already coming up with their own theories that Biden's going to win the state by less than 1,000 votes.
So I hope you guys are documenting and creating a list of all of the tactics. So at least whatever happens, if there is some sort of legal action we can take in afterwards, public sort of information, hearings, whatever it is, it's very clear. Because I mean, on the other side, I remember in Iowa, the caucuses in 2016, we really had to document kind of the thing about voting reminds me of Iowa, because I remember showing up in Iowa and the lines were out and people were being denied the ability to go caucus. And it was because there were fewer locations than 4 years prior. And that was a Democrat move. So the tactics are the same. And we have to be aware of what these tactics are, so we're not caught in a situation in which people can't turn out and vote, and plugs disappear and voting machines malfunction and poll workers don't get phone calls back. But we as a collective movement need to be very aware before it's too late. So we're not, it's important to organize and recognize these things, but to preemptively fight them off so our energy isn't being used, on election day on the defense instead of getting out people to vote. Nabila, really fascinating. It's looking good.
Yes.
And just actually real quick before we wrap up, how are the congressional seats looking?
So Lucy McBath won her reelection. With that being said, Karen Handel deleted her Twitter and Facebook today. Her opponent, yes. Her opponent, so she had won the first time around. And then John Ossoff, if you guys remember that election from 2017, lost to her. And then Lucy McBath won by like less than 1,500 votes, but she won her reelection. So I'm really thankful about that. And then Carolyn Bordeaux, who became the nominee for the general election. She flipped my district by 2.4 was the percentage. I thought it would be a lot larger because we were the number one House district to flip in the nation. So I'm going to try to figure out what happened there. But, win is a win. And I'm glad that we don't have a QAnon supporter as my representative. With that being said, I still believe that this district deserves someone that is a progressive and is going to really speak truth to power for this working class district. And because the majority of voters here are Black and brown working people, and we need to have a strong voice at the table. So I hope Carolyn will be able to channel that for us and give us representation that we deserve.
And how about the Senate? How'd that turn out?
Oh yeah, Senate. Let's start with the Senate. So Raphael Warnock is going to be in a runoff with Kelly Loeffler, which was the ideal scenario because Doug Collins, I don't think that would have been good in a runoff to have him. I think there were some Democrats that probably would have voted for Doug, but Kelly Loeffler is just scum of the earth. I think she's ubiquitously hated across the board. And even Republicans despise her. The leadership here did not support her. And I think the reason that she was able to skate through is because of her own money. She is independently wealthy.
Right.
And so there's going to be runoff. And then I just got news that David Perdue is under 50% now. So in Georgia, if you don't get over 50%, it is a runoff. So we're looking at 2 runoffs.
And when does that happen with John Ossoff, you're saying?
It's the same day in January. I can't lie for me remember what day exactly in January, but it will be in January. So
the makeup of the Senate still to this moment might be conditioned to how these runoffs work in Georgia. That story has not penetrated the national media.
Oh, it will.
Oh, it will. I mean, it will, obviously. But like, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to be rooting for Senator Jon Ossoff. Guys, come on.
For the sake of democracy, I am rooting for them both. So that's where we're at right now. So
I know. Thanks for watching and listening to the Nomiki Show. But remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube, and please share on social media. If you're not already a patron, please join us for as low as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for early and special content. That investment makes a huge difference. We are not corporate media raking in the dough. It's really you guys that are keeping us going. So please consider being a patron. And to our current patrons, thank you so much. We are incredibly grateful to you. We also now have swag. So check us out on thenomikishow.com to get your mugs, your totes, and your stickers.